you all. This is E-Man Booze. Everyone loves a great story, and the story behind Wicked Dolphin's sunken barrel USS Mohawk Coast Guard Cutter Reserve rum is nothing short of spectacular. On July 2nd, the distillery opened their doors to the lucky people who stood in line, and in 45 minutes, all 200 bottles of this limited offering were gone. Now, my good buddy Doug, and I got to thank him for this, he called me up and said, I'm going to be down in Cape Coral, Florida on that day. You want me to pick you up a bottle? I said, hell yeah. Doug, thank you for standing in line. I'm glad you got one, and I'm glad you brought me one back as well. All right, now, we're going to get into the inspiration behind the spirit. We're going to taste the spirit. We're going to tell you everything about it, and we're going to have fun with it. Okay, now, the inspiration behind the spirit came from a fella named Mike Campbell. He's the head of Reefs. He's the president, actually, and Reefs is a non-profit foundation that works to protect natural reef ecosystems through the creation of artificial habitats. So they're heavily involved with creating reefs. So fish have a place to go when the sharks are chasing them. And Lord only knows we got a lot of sharks out there right now if you're following the news. So that's a good thing there. And all the proceeds from the sales of this here spirit benefited not only Reefs, but another special organization called Special Operations Bionic Warriors. That's a foundation that helps U.S. operations veterans and athletes to procure sporting equipment, coaching, and sports science to help them achieve their athletic goals. So two great organizations, two worthy causes, and I commend Joanna Lardo and Dan Termini of Wicked Dolphin for producing a spirit that benefited the community. Very, very nice thing you did there. Thank you. All right, let's get some in the glass. We're going to tell you how it's made, because that's where the real magic happens. Boy, am I going to be disappointed when this here bottle's gone. All right, how's it made? Well, once the idea was floated past Wicked Dolphin, they decided they were going to buy a couple of used bourbon barrels. They got 3 5-gallon barrels and 2 15-gallon barrels that recently housed aged bourbon, aged somewhere around 3 to 5 years. And what they did was they took some of their own rum that they'd been aging and they filled it into these here little barrels, aged it for a couple of months. They emptied the contents of the spirit into a holding tank and filled the barrels back up with reverse osmosis water. Then they gave them to some divers who went 30 miles off the coast of Sanibel Island and submerged them underneath the water and below the bows of the USS Mohawk Coast Guard Cutter. Now, the USS Mohawk Coast Guard Cutter served during World War II, fought many important missions. They saved 300 sailors from a sinking ship. And the main thing was they fought a lot of the evil access of submarines. And this boat was sitting down in Key West somewhere, rusting up. And Reefs got together with the military and decided, hey, why don't you let us sink this boat and make a reef? So that's how that happened. So once these barrels were sunken, they stayed underneath the water for 3 days. They were lifted up out of the water, taken back to the distillery where the contents of the RO water were emptied into another holding tank. They mixed together both of the rums, okay, got it all proofed down to about 80 proof with the water. By the way, the water now, what that did was, when you put a barrel, oh well, blooper, when you put a barrel underneath the high pressure of the ocean at 90 feet below sea level, the pressure of the ocean there, or the Gulf rather, squeezed the side of the barrel and pushed out all that aged rum and bourbon flavors that were locked into the barrel staves. That got in that water. So think of it kind of like as a low-proof rum of its own. So these two mixed together, went back into these 5-year barrels, and aged for another couple months before they were finally bottled. What a story! I got some neat pictures to show you here of the divers taking the barrels down. And if you go to Wicked Dolphin Media and you check out their videos and press release and photos, you can see here they're coming down below the bow, climbing down the stairs, tying the barrels off to the stairs. Here's another picture of them getting the barrels into the bow of the ship. Alright, cool. Man, we having all kind of bloopers here this evening. Hitting the camera, dropping the cork out of the bung out of the barrel. Okay, so we got this cool rum in the barrel. And now we got it in the bottle. And we're going to nose it up and taste it here and see what it's all about. Let's get it up on the nose here. Wonderful. Vanilla, come at you first. There's this tropical fruit tone that I'm picking up here. Something like soursop, maybe star apple. I recently had these fruits in Jamaica when I was down there, and some of the things that I smelled of those fruits, I'm smelling here. Maybe a hint of pineapple even on the nose. You're getting a nice honey tone here. Ooh, the brown sugar. This rum, Wicked Dolphin's aged rum, is made from 100% Florida brown sugar mash, or wash rather. And the cane fields ain't far from the distillery neither. The tropical tones in here are magnificent. But the vanilla and the sugar, absolutely scintillating. Let's get up on the palate. Extremely refined. You know, I do pick up a lot of these tropical tones. I get the tropical fruit tones, rather. I'm getting something like that star apple. I'm picking up a little papaya in there. I get this marzipan note. That's a wonderful thing. There's a big caramel profile too here. Also probably coming from the barrel char. But the caramel and toffee is just wonderful. And there is a little bit of saltiness here, just an ever so slight amount that makes it even more special. Because if you've ever had a salted caramel, you know what salt can do to something sweet, how it can really help to bring out the sweetness. The rum is dry, but there's natural sweetness in it. It's not sweetened with any kind of sugar or anything, it's just distilled from sugar. But the saltiness now is very, very light. Like you would think, well, you take a barrel and you stick it underneath the ocean, it's going to get all salty inside the liquid inside there, but it's not really the case. It's just ever so slightly in the background. Picking up a little bit of nutmeg in there too, a little bit of spiciness, maybe a hint of cinnamon. The fruit tones, everything about this rum, it's so well composed. If this rum is any indication of yet to be released Wicked Dolphin aged rums, we're in for some serious rum. We're in for some serious spirits produced from this here company, and I think they could go toe to toe, judging off how well this rum is, with any of those Caribbean producers. And I think as years go by, we're going to be talking about Wicked Dolphin for a long time. Now, check Wicked Dolphin out on the internet. It's wickeddolphin.com. If you want to learn more about how this here spirit's made, wickeddolphinmedia.com. I reviewed this here Wicked Dolphin Artisan Spice Rum late last year. If you want to learn about the origins of the distillery and how this rum was made, I tell you about that in that YouTube video review. Hopefully we're going to get to the coconut and the white rum and the silver rum another day. In August, I'm writing the Distillery of the Month, and Cape Spirits is going to be featured for MainStreetDistilleries.com, so make sure you check that out in early August. I'm E-Man Booze. You can find me on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and as I said before, I write the Distillery of the Month for MainStreetDistilleries.com. Thank you, Joanne Ellardo, for producing a great spirit. Thank you, Dan Termini, for being the master distiller and making sure all the technical greatness that you've learned ended up inside the barrels and ended up inside this here bottle. If ever you get down to Florida and you're on the Gulf Coast, make sure you visit Cape Spirits and tell them old E-Man Booze sent you, and check them out because they're producing some of the finest rums in the country today. Bye, you all!